Hey everybody, welcome back to the Down Commander Deck Dojo. Grab your katanas and strap on your armor, because today we're heading to Kamigawa for a sweet deck built around Samurai. Hello everyone and welcome to the Deck Dojo for the first ever Down Commander Deck Tech. I'm your host and Sensei, AJ. You can find me here or on Twitter at Megas of the Salt. Please drop by and say hi. Bring me all your janky commander questions, suggestions for content, and pictures of your fur babies. Say hi to Bowie. My goal with this channel is going to be to bring you fun, flavorful commander deck techs, and just to be a general force for fun and positivity in the community. If you like what you see here, please hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications when new videos come out. You can also share this video and channel with your friends, your enemies, or bonus points if you shouted at a random stranger on the street. The points are arbitrary, and they don't count for anything, but just know that I'm keeping a tally, and I'm so proud of you. I look forward to bringing you more content in the future and growing with you as a community. Today we're heading all the way back to Kamigawa block. Kamigawa was Magic's top-down Japanese-themed plane. Now, I've seen plenty of decks built around Kamigawa themes over the years, but I've never seen one like the deck I'm going to bring you today. Kamigawa brought us lots of support for several fan-favorite tribes, like snakes, spirits, and ninjas. Over the years, Wizards has continued to show support for these tribes by printing new commanders for them, like Kaseto, Orochi Archmage, Okagachi Vengeful Kami, and Yuriko, the Tiger's Shadow. But today's deck tech will be over the least beloved tribe from Kamigawa, Samurai. Before we delve into the deck, let's take a look at who the Samurai were and how they are represented in Magic. The Samurai were the warrior class of feudal Japan. They were elite warriors, feared and respected by all. Samurai swore fealty to a lord and protected them with their lives. Katana in hand, they lived by a code called Bushido, or the Way of the Warrior, which dictated their etiquette in and out of combat. The 7 virtues of Bushido were duty, courage, benevolence, politeness, honesty, honor, and loyalty. Within Magic the Gathering, Samurai are noted for their keyword ability, Bushido. It reads Bushido X. Whenever this creature blocks or becomes blocked, it gets +X/+X until end of turn. This ability makes it clear that Samurai are excellent in combat and especially punishing to block. So what does all this tell us about how Samurai can best be utilized in a game of Commander? How can we build a deck worthy of their virtues and tenets? Samurai should be great in combat, but especially at protection. Samurai need a lord to protect, and should get some benefit worthy of their skill. So the first consideration when building this deck was finding a lord suitable of their fealty. Meet our commander, Queen Marchesa, long may she reign. Queen Marchesa, long may she reign, is a 3/3 human assassin for 1 and Mardu colors. She has Death Touch and Haste and reads, whenever Queen Marchesa, long may she reign, enters the battlefield, you become the monarch. At the beginning of your upkeep, if an opponent is the monarch, put a 1/1 black assassin creature token with Death Touch and Haste onto the battlefield. If you are unfamiliar with the monarch mechanic, it says, at the beginning of your end step, draw a card. Whenever a creature deals combat damage to you, that creature's controller becomes the monarch. Oh baby, is that a queen worth protecting? Queen Marchesa, long may she reign, is going to reward us with extra card draw every turn as long as we can protect her. So that brings us to Sensei's strategy for this deck. Our plan is going to be to become the monarch and protect the crown from our enemies. We're going to manipulate our enemies into fighting amongst themselves by making attacking us less profitable. And finally, we're going to beat down with our army of samurai and protect the realm from invaders. Without further ado, take off your shoes and let's dive into the deck dojo. Every good commander deck starts off with a foundation of ramp and card draw, so let's get those out of the way first. As far as ramp is concerned, we've got some generic artifact staples. We start off with Wayfarer's Bauble, an artifact that costs 1 generic, and for 2 generic we can sacrifice it and get a basic land onto the battlefield tapped. Sol Ring, 1 mana for an artifact which adds 2 generic mana, and Commander's Sphere, which can tap for any color in our commander's identity and can be sacrificed in a pinch to draw a card. And let's not forget Felwar Stone, which costs 2 mana and can tap to add a color of any type a land our opponent's control could produce. We've also got all 3 signets in our color. They each cost 2 mana, but for 1 mana and tapping them, you get 2 mana of a fixed color pair. And for generic card draw, we look to black for Night's Whisper, Read the Bones, and Painful Truths. Night's Whisper costs 1 and a black to draw us 2 cards, and we lose 2 life. Read the Bones is 2 and a black, scry 2, draw 2, and lose 2 life. Painful Truths is a favorite of mine in 3-color decks. It's a sorcery for 2 and a black, and it has Converge. You draw X cards and lose X life, where X is the number of colors of mana spent to cast Painful Truths. Next up, let's look at how we're going to make ourselves less enticing to target. Ghostly Prison is 2 and a white for an enchantment that says creatures can't attack you unless their controller pays 2 for each attacking creature. This is going to either stop our opponents from casting spells in order to attack us, or continue with their plan and simply attack other opponents. If they do decide to attack us, we'll punish them with Revenge of Ravens, 3 and a black for an enchantment that says whenever a creature attacks you or a planeswalker you control, that creature's controller loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. If this still doesn't stop them, we'll simply need to make our blockers better. Brave the Sands is going to give our creatures vigilance and allow them to block an extra creature in combat. We've also got the archetypes of Courage and Finality, which give our creatures First Strike and Death Touch, and cause our opponent's creatures to lose those abilities. Bonus points if you can assemble all 3 keywords. Even with 2, our creatures become nearly impossible to deal with through combat, so good luck taking the Monarchy. Next up, let's make our creatures buff. First up, we've got Heraldic Banner and Icon of Ancestry. Heraldic Banner costs 3 mana for an artifact that says, when Heraldic Banner enters the battlefield, choose a color. It can tap to add 1 mana of the chosen color. In this deck, we're always going to choose white, as this deck is primarily white. But that's not all Heraldic Banner does. It also gives all creatures we control +1/+0. Trust me when I say people always forget that part. Icon of Ancestry is a 3 mana artifact that says, when Icon of Ancestry enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Creatures of the chosen type get +1/+1, and for 3 and tapping the icon, we can look at the top 3 cards of our library and put a creature of the chosen type from among them into our hand, and the rest on the bottom in a random order. Radiant Destiny and Etchings of the Chosen will both give creatures of a chosen type +1/+1. If we have the City's Blessing, Radiant Destiny will also give them Vigilance. And with Etchings of the Chosen, we can pay 1 and sacrifice a creature of the chosen type to give target creature indestructible until end of turn. Always Watching is an enchantment that gives non-token creatures we control +1/+1 and Vigilance. Dictate of Heliod has Flash, and will give our team +2/+2. Bonus points if you use it to blow out an opponent who thought they could survive the attack, or wipe their board when they thought they'd block. Unbreakable Formation is an instant that gives creatures we control indestructible until end of turn. If we cast Unbreakable Formation at sorcery speed, it will also give our creatures +1/+1 and Vigilance until end of turn. This is great protection against a board wipe, or a nice bonus for an alpha swing late game that protects us from opposing blockers or crackbacks. Now that we've shown why our opponents shouldn't attack us, let's take a look at why they should attack each other in The Art of War. First, we have Smoke, Uphill Battle, and War's Toll. Smoke makes it so that our opponents can only untap one creature each turn. Uphill Battle says that creatures our opponents control enter the battlefield tapped. These cards are important because tapped creatures can't block. War's Toll says, whenever an opponent taps a land for mana, tap all lands that opponent controls. Whenever a creature an opponent controls attacks, all creatures that player controls attack if able. War's Toll is going to force our opponents to make suboptimal decisions, both in combat and when casting spells. Next up, there's Ethereal Haze and Call to Glory. Ethereal Haze is a fog, with Samurai in the art, for those sweet bonus points. Call to Glory will untap our creatures at instant speed and give our Samurai +1/+1 until end of turn. Last in this category, we have Cleansing Nova and Merciless Eviction. We don't run many board wipes because we want to be the aggressors with this deck, but these wipes allow us the flexibility to deal with troublesome permanents like artifacts, enchantments, and planeswalkers. Now let's move on to the creature suite with our first Honorary Samurai. These creatures may not be samurai, but they each do something that benefits our game plan. Kong Ming Sleeping Dragon gives all other creatures we control +1/+1. Thalia Heretic Cathar makes our opponent's non-basic lands and creatures enter the battlefield tapped. And, like we said, tapped creatures can't block. Brutal Horde Chief says, whenever a creature we control attacks, defending player loses 1 life and we gain 1 life. For 3 and Hybrid Boros, we can force our opponent's creatures to block, and we choose how they block. This allows us to make poor decisions for our opponents. Ankle Shanker is a 2/2 goblin with haste that says, whenever Ankle Shanker attacks, creatures you control gain first strike and death touch until end of turn. She drops and immediately turns our board into a force to be reckoned with. The flavor text on Ankle Shanker also sounds quite samurai. The stature of the fighter matters less than the depth of the cut. Wise words indeed. Odric Master Tactician is a samurai if I ever met one. Whenever Odric and at least 3 other creatures attack, we get to choose which creatures block and how they block. That's right, we can just pick no creatures block. Odric reads Alpha Swing all over him, and shouldn't be dropped if you smell a board wipe coming. Lastly, we have Godo Bandit Warlord. When Godo Bandit Warlord enters the battlefield, we can search our deck for an equipment and put it straight onto the battlefield. Also, whenever Godo attacks for the first time each turn, we untap it and all samurai creatures we control, and then there's an additional combat phase after this one. I have never seen Godo's Samurai Clause be relevant, but in this deck, it totally is. So what equipment are we tutoring up with Godo? Well, there's only one in the deck, and that's Oathkeeper to Keno's Daisho. Oathkeeper costs 3 mana and equips for 2. Equipped creature gets +3/+1. Whenever equipped creature is put into the graveyard, return that creature to the battlefield if it's a samurai. Whenever Oathkeeper is put into the graveyard, exile the creature it's equipped to. Oathkeeper can give our samurai a decent buff while also providing some much needed resilience to some of our more important creatures. Now it's time to finally begin looking at our Bushido Bois. First up are the shapeshifters that begin our samurai package. All of these creatures count as samurai for the purposes of our deck. There's Universal Automaton, Imposter of the Sixth Pride, and Irregular Cohort, who brings along with him a 2/2 samurai token. Skeletal Changeling can be regenerated for 1 and a black, while Taurian Mauler gets bigger for every spell our opponents cast. Moonglove Changeling and Venomous Changeling either have or can be given Death Touch, making them excellent blockers. Now, let's take a look at the actual samurai. We start off with Devoted Retainer and Nezumi Ronin, who are generic creatures with Bushido 1, while Inner Chamber Guard is a 0/2 with Bushido 2. Araba Moth Rider has Bushido 1 and Flying. Kitsune Blade Master has Bushido 1 and First Strike. And Kuro's Taken has Bushido 1, and for 1 and a black, we can regenerate it. Samurai of the Pale Curtain is a 2/2 with Bushido 1 who says, if a permanent would be put into a graveyard, exile it instead. This is a great thematic way of shutting off sacrifice decks. And for 2 white mana, it is incredibly efficient. Kanda's Hatamoto is a 1/2 with Bushido 1, but as long as you control a legendary samurai, it gets +1/+2 and has vigilance. Which brings us to the legendary samurai. First up is Kentaro the Smiling Cat, a 2/1 with Bushido 1 who allows us to pay X for samurai spells, where X is the converted mana cost of that spell. For this deck, Kentaro is essentially a chromatic lantern for our creatures, allowing us to ignore the colored costs of our samurai. Izuka the Ruthless is a 3/3 with Bushido 2, and it has the ability 2 in a red, sacrifice a samurai. Samurai creatures you control gain double strike until end of turn. Izuka can be especially critical for those late game moments when we just need to get in that extra bit of damage. Nagao Bound by Honor is a 3/3 with Bushido 1, and when he attacks, samurai you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. Takeno Samurai General is a 3/3 with Bushido 2, and he gives all other samurai +X/+X, where X is the amount of Bushido it has. Kanda, Lord of Iganjo, is our biggest and baddest samurai. He's a 3/3 with Vigilance, Indestructible, and Bushido 5. And now, let's break the rules of Commander, because this is my channel, and I do what I want. We're running 2 copies of the card Brothers Yamazaki. They both say the exact same things. They are 2/1s with Bushido 1, and they say, if there are 2 permanents on the field named Brothers Yamazaki, the legend rule doesn't apply to them, and each other creature named Brothers Yamazaki gets +2/+2 and haste. Now, both brothers have different art on their cards, so we can easily differentiate between the 2. And if anyone doesn't like it, who cares? We're playing Samurai. We're not here to win any tournaments, and no one's ever been blown out by the Brothers Yamazaki. At least, not yet. With the creatures out of the way, let's move on to Sensei's top picks. Sensei's top picks are my picks for the top 5 cards in each deck. So here we go. Number 5 is Sensei Golden Tail, a 2/1 Fox Cleric with Bushido 1. For 1 and a white, you can tap Sensei to put a training counter on target creature. That creature gains Bushido 1 and is a samurai in addition to its other types. You can use the Sensei's ability to train opponents' creatures if you're feeling gracious, but mostly, you'll be using this ability to give our few non-samurai creatures the benefits of being part of the tribe. Bonus points if you can use the Sensei to train Queen Marchesa, long may she reign, in the ways of Bushido and make her a samurai. Number 4 is Master Warcraft. Master Warcraft is an instant that must be cast before attackers are declared. It says, you choose which creatures attack this turn, you choose which creatures block this turn, and how those creatures block. Master Warcraft can be used to fog an enemy's attack by choosing no creatures to attack on their turn. Or, you can use it offensively to pick no blocks, or assign less than profitable blocks for your opponent's creatures. Remember, Master Warcraft may let you choose which creatures attack, but it doesn't let you choose how they attack. So, your opponents could choose to swing at you still. Number 3 is Mirror Entity. Mirror Entity is a shapeshifter with the ability X. Creatures you control gain all creature types and have base power and toughness XX until end of turn. Mirror Entity is the ultimate Alpha Strike finisher, but it can also be used defensively to make our blockers bigger than anything coming their way. Activating this ability will also give non-samurai creatures we control all the benefits of being a samurai. Number 2 is Fumiko the Lowblood. Fumiko is a 3/2 with Bushido X, where X is the number of attacking creatures. She also says, creatures your opponents control attack each turn if able. Unfortunately, like Master Warcraft, we can't control where our opponents attack, so we definitely have to be careful when we use Fumiko, or we could suffer the folly of our own hubris. Number 1 is Opal Eye Kanda's Yojimbo. Opal Eye is a 1/4 with Bushido 1 and Defender. You can tap Opal Eye to redirect damage from any source from you to Opal Eye. And for 1 and a white, you can prevent the next 1 damage to Opal Eye. Opal Eye can help protect the monarchy if you need to redirect an unblockable attacker's damage to prevent losing the crown. You can also use Opal Eye's ability to essentially fog a giant comet storm or fireball that was targeted at your face. Opal Eye is the ultimate defender of the crown, and this sensei's top pick of the deck. And now for the mana base, as quickly as we can. First up, we have Command Tower, which can tap for any color in our commander's identity, Nomad Outpost, which enters tapped but taps for any of our colors, and Unclaimed Territory, which taps for colorless or any color as long as we're casting a samurai spell. Exotic Orchard can tap for a color of any color that an opponent's land could produce. Mirrodin's Core taps for a colorless, or we can tap it to put a charge counter on Mirrodin's Core. Then we can tap it and remove one of those counters to add 1 mana of any color. We're running 2 Pain lands, Battlefield Forge and Caves of Koilos, which both can add white if we need it. We also have Temple of Triumph, the scry land that adds our 2 primary colors. Next we have all 3 Guild Gates, which enter tapped but tap for 1 of 2 colors. We also have Stone Quarry, Forsaken Sanctuary, Scoured Barrens, and Windscarred Crag, which are all tapped lands that add white mana. As white is our primary color, we want to prioritize lands that tap for white and another color. Next up are the Vivid lands, which enter tapped with 2 counters on them. We can tap them for 1 specific color, or remove a counter and tap them for any color. For fixing, we run Evolving Wilds, which can get any of our colors, and Esper and Naya Panorama, which can either tap for colorless, or for 1 and sacrificing them, we can search out for a basic land in one of our 2 colors. We're running 8 basic plains, 2 swamps, and 2 mountains. Rounding out the lands are Slayer's Stronghold and Vault of the Archangels. Both lands tap for colorless and have a second unique ability. The Stronghold has an ability that says, for 1 red and 1 white and tap, target creature gets +2/+0 and gains Vigilance and Haste until end of turn. Vault of the Archangel says, for 2, a white and a black, and tap, creatures you control get lifelink and death touch until end of turn. If your opponents aren't paying close attention, an activation from Vault of the Archangel can really blow them out. With the lands out of the way, let's look at Sensei's signature strikes. Sensei's signature strikes are any interesting interactions I found in the deck that may not be totally obvious or are just especially neat. It should go without saying that these signature strikes are worth so many bonus points. Signature strike number 1 is War's Toll and Ghostly Prison. The interaction here may not be totally obvious at first. If an opponent chooses to cast a spell in their first main phase, they won't be able to leave up mana to attack you when they go to combat. If they pay mana to attack you during combat, they'll have to tap out then, and won't be able to cast any other spells that turn. The second signature strike in the deck involves Opal Eye, Kanda's Yojimbo, and Oathkeeper to Keno's Daisho. If you can equip the Daisho to Opal Eye, once a turn, you can fog any 1 source of damage to Opal Eye with impunity. If Opal Eye dies, he'll just return to the battlefield. Next turn, you equip him again, and have another reusable fog effect. And now for the budget report. Warning, I am not a budget player, but I understand that many players are. While I won't be making concessions completely around budget, I will definitely try to keep the deck price as low as I can without compromising my vision. I'll also include upgrades after the budget report. All budget reports are calculated using TCG Player's Cart Optimizer, adjusting for heavily played and damaged cards. Because I'm here to play jank, and there's no reason to break the bank on jank. The current price of the deck for me at the time of recording was about $98. Now a huge chunk of that cost comes solely from Queen Marchesa, long may she reign, who is currently about a $20 card. So if you don't include her in the cost, that brings the deck down to about $77.53. Last but not least, let's take a look at my power-up picks for the deck. First, we'll swap out Kong Ming Sleeping Dragon and Skeletal Changeling for Adaptive Automaton and Metallic Mimic. These are hands down the two best samurai I didn't include for budget reasons. Automaton buffs all of our samurais, and Mimic puts a +1/+1 counter on each samurai we cast. Next, we'll take out Dictate of Heliod and Icon of Ancestry for Vanquisher's Banner and Herald's Horn. Vanquisher's Banner will give us an Anthem effect while also drawing us a card for every samurai we cast. Herald's Horn will make our samurai one cheaper and help us smooth out our draws. Revenge of Ravens and Radiant Destiny can be traded out for Michiko Kanda, Truth Seeker, and Price of Glory. Michiko Kanda is one of the best deterrents to attacking us, allowing us to use the monarchy as bait. And Price of Glory forces our opponents to decide between playing at sorcery speed or losing their lands. Ethereal Haze becomes Disrupt Decorum, and Nezumi Ronin becomes Iroas, God of Victory. Disrupt Decorum is another spell that forces our opponents to attack and leaves them open to our attackers. Iroas gives our creatures menace and prevents all damage that would be dealt to attacking creatures we control. Next up, we're going to take Call to Glory and Irregular Cohort out of the deck. Finally, we'll add 2 more equipment for Godo Bandit Warlord to grab. Kanda's banner can only be equipped to a legendary creature, but it gives +1/+1 to all creatures that share a color with equipped creature, and +1/+1 to all creatures that share a type with equipped creature. Bonus points with this card if you can put it on Queen Marchesa and then have Sensei Golden Tail make her a samurai for the ultimate buff. The last power-up is Helm of the Host. Helm of the Host is notorious for its infinite combo with Godo Bandit Warlord. If you're unfamiliar, Helm of the Host says, at the beginning of combat on your turn, create a token that's a copy of equipped creature, except the token copy isn't legendary if equipped creature is legendary. That token has haste. This means at the beginning of combat you make a second Godo with haste. That Godo attacks and triggers Godo's second clause, untapping it and all other samurai you control, and giving you an extra combat. At the beginning of the extra combat, you'll create another token copy of Godo. That Godo triggers on attacks, since this is that Godo's first combat step, and untaps all your Godos and all of your samurai. While this combo is kinda scummy, may I present 3 points for its inclusion. 1. Game's gotta end. We're not tutoring for Godo, so we can't speed this out anyway. 2. How often do you get to assemble that combo and have the line about untapping all of your samurai both be relevant? We're not just comboing with infinite Godos, we're also untapping all of our samurai for infinite samurai beats. I feel like the flavor overcomes the cheesiness. Now I'm just hungry. And 3, we're samurai tribal. Need I say more? Give us all the help we can get and get over it. Anyway, thanks for coming to my TED Talk. And that's all, folks. Thanks for checking out the first top-down Commander deck tech. If you liked what you saw, please like, subscribe, hit the bell, and share this video with all of your friends. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, feel free to comment below or find me on other social media, at Magus of the Salt on Twitter and Instagram. Links to this deck tech and the upgraded list can be found in the description. I just want to say a quick thank you to everyone who has supported the channel so far. I couldn't do it without all of your love and support. Thank you so much. I'll see you back in the dojo soon, but until then, keep kicking ass.